self-directed IRAs and life settlements have a lot of the same characteristics that people just don't understand them. They may have heard of them, but they don't know what to do next or what is the process. Or better yet, that the fact that you can buy a life settlement with your retirement account is quite new to a lot of people, for the simple fact that you could use your retirement account to self-direct in the alternative space. So having you on board, and eventually we're going to go ahead and talk about that process. But I want to learn a little bit more about Mr. Neal. And I hate talking about any one of I love the fact that I call them experts in the respected fields, because I will butcher something about you. I want to hear it from your mouth. You tell me a little about Barry Neal. Give me about a minute breakdown.
Yeah. So as you know, as mentioned, back in 2015, I first got involved in kind of the industry, as we'll call it. Growing up, my father was involved in first, life insurance sales, annuities. It later went on to estate planning, et cetera. I think I was always kind of destined to do that. So I worked towards, business administration degree, but kind of didn't know what I would do. But, everything started coming together when I obtained my life license and started representing life settlements companies back in 2016. And, having represented multiple companies, there was just a couple of things that, well, they were fine, but we saw a lot more potential there. So myself and a few of us at these companies, we got together, we built a better mousetrap. And so, we've expanded in these past years since then, just all over the country. We have a lot of people appointed or members of our companies now, and we're just so excited to be just growing and offering life settlements to qualified purchasers across the country now.
Thank you for that quick. I would have totally destroyed that. So Barry, thank you for that quick breakdown. We're going to talk about that agenda real quick. We're going to talk about what are life settlements, right? The estimated return on your investment, whether it is your IRA or your own personal funds. Remember, with Barry, you're not tied into just retirement funds. You can do both, but the ultra wealthy learn how to utilize it both ways. Traditionally, people in the 32% tax bracket, because the majority of the people that do understand self-directed are accredited, but that movement is kind of shifting over to non-accredited investors. Also, for those who do not understand the differences, accredited, you are, as an individual, you must make over 200,000 as a household income, or if you collectively, are married, or you do a joint, or as again a household income of $300,000 or more, or you have to have $1 million in assets. But we also love talking about the risks. What are the positives? What are the negatives when it comes to investing within life settlements? I'm definitely going to have Barry break that down. What is the time frame of the investment itself? I know it's all over the spectrum poll. Again, I know life settlements, but I don't know life settlements the same way people know self-directed IRAs, but they don't understand self-directed IRAs. That's why I say there's a lot of the same characteristics in that aspect. The process, he just said he's been here for 4 years. He has hundreds of clients here at the IRA Club. He knows our process better than I think I do. So you could go straight to Barry and Barry will tell you what to do. But hypothetical, if you are new to self-directing, I'm going to give you a quick little breakdown, the process. Scan that QR code, okay? The beauty of a self-directed IRA is it allows you to invest tax-deferred or tax-free. When you look at the alternative space, we typically are always looking at double-digit returns. When you utilize your traditional IRA, Roth IRA, old employers plans, those numbers actually jump from 10%, let's say hypothetical, to 15 to potentially almost 20 if you're using a Roth, depending on the longevity of the investment or how much you're looking to invest. Process is done in 3 simple steps: open, fund, invest. You could jump on the IRA Club website or scan the QR code. That'll take you straight to my information. You could share your contact information with us. And it will take you straight into either opening up an account to the IRA Club website. You could schedule a call with me, or if you go to the IRA Club website on the top right side, you could schedule a call with any one of our IRA Club specialists, and they could help walk you through this process. Once you open the account, fund the account. One of the reasons why Barry loves IRA Club is he doesn't want to go after the IRA to IRA transfers, the potential sum, not all pensions, annuities, the contributions. We do the work for Barry. That's why Barry loves IRA Club. And he always has one direct point of contact. Barry, who are you talking to these days besides, is it Carlos?
Oh, I love everyone on the team from Carlos and investments. I mean, even your accounting department is just fantastic. But everyone on the transfers team is just so great. I love how they keep me updated. I don't even have to ask most of the time to get updates. Just great.
Well, thank you for that. Honestly, thank you for the kind words. Funding, as I mentioned, you could do a contribution. If you're under the age of 50, it's 6,000. If you're over the age of 50, that's 7,000. You could do an old employer's rollover, as I just mentioned. Maybe you have an old 401k, 403b, TSP, anything of that nature, that you can roll over those funds over to the IRA Club. Unfortunately, we cannot touch those, but what we do is we set you up with a guide, the tools that you need in order, better yet, you know exactly what to ask them for. Literally follow the 4 steps. It's that simple. If you have any questions, you have an IRA Club specialist to walk you through that process. In fact, our transfers team is more than happy to jump on the call with you 3-way if you need the help. Lastly, an IRA to IRA transfer, as I mentioned, will do the work for you. Invest. Okay, that's the only thing I can't do for you. Choose the investment. Barry's here to talk about life settlements, but in the meantime, please, again, scan that QR code if you just want to get straight to it. But from this point on, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Barry, I'm going to pass it along to you. And you are going to educate IRA Club members or people that are listening for the very first time about life settlements.
Yes.
And it's all yours, buddy.
All right, great. As soon as I can share screen here, I'll pull up a little.
Sorry, there you go. There you go. It should.
Yep. Yeah, that works. Cool. Great. So hopefully you can see my screen now, Ramesh.
Yes, sir. It is still blank though. Just
still
there
blank.
We go. Thank you.
Okay, super. Yeah, thank you so much for that thorough introduction, Ramesh. I'm not going to belabor how we just love working together, but most of our business is actually through IRA Club. So, it's just a partnership that I'm just so glad we could, collaborate on this. And, you mentioned the stock market, what's been happening there lately with inflation, with the rising of the Federal Reserve funds rate, 50 basis points, et cetera. They talk about hitting the greed button or the fear button to get you to invest. I won't poo-poo the stock market or, if you're invested in bonds, real estate, that's great. Why? You can only invest 5 to 10% in life settlements by law, usually. And even if you could invest more, there's a couple of downsides why you might not want to. So for those reasons, this is a piece of your portfolio. We would never talk about moving your entire portfolio into life settlements, but for a small piece of your portfolio, I think you'll come to find in this presentation, it may make a lot of sense. So again, average investor, stock market, real estate, annuities, cash, there's advantages and disadvantages to all of these things. But if we look at some recent events, coronavirus, this has dramatically affected, in March of 2020, the S&P 500 was down about 50% in 6 weeks. I mean, 30% in 6 weeks, just an incredibly quick drawdown. And there are events that can plague these other asset classes where life settlements will be completely unaffected. Okay, so whatever is going on in politics, who's ever the president, whatever the next big thing or current thing is, life settlements payouts come from companies that are solvent and will pay out regardless of these current events. So the solution, of course, as we've already alluded to, is a growing market. It's an established market. It was legalized back in 1911 in a Supreme Court ruling. Warren Buffett, everyone's favorite investor, owns over $1 billion worth of this product. Not our company's product, of course. We're talking about this asset class, okay? The big banks that you're all familiar with, Bank of America, European banks, et cetera. This is a global market. It's an established market. In the institutional side, the London School of Business found that investors were earning 12.9%. So we don't advertise 12.9%. This is for institutional investors, but we'll get into what the return is. And again, this is to hedge your risk with whatever else you're doing. So if you have, still a fair allocation and exposure to the stock market, to the real estate market, that's great. But would you like a little bit tucked aside that's earning investment returns completely non-correlated to whatever else you're doing? What is a life settlement? When a senior sells his life insurance policy for cash, that's now a life settlement. It's a settlement on the life insurance policy. So everyone's familiar with a life insurance policy, right? I pay now, I collect the death benefit, or rather my heirs collect the death benefit. In this case, Equity Life already owns a portfolio of third-party life insurance contracts that you can now invest into, okay? So rather than just purchasing one life insurance contract, you're purchasing a whole bundle. We call it a portfolio. So this provides not just the diversification inherent in life settlements, but exposure to multiple policies, okay? And if you're wondering, this is the big thing that we do differently versus the other companies. So when we broke off, started our own companies, and are now the fastest growing life settlement companies in multiple states, we made the portfolio structure. That's our secret sauce, okay? Let's look at just a sample portfolio. This is a recent portfolio of ours. You can see this is actually 7 policies. This is typical insureds range in age from 70s to 80s. And, let's skip ahead. You'll see this is the product in a nutshell. You invest a given investment amount and you'll receive back a death benefit, okay? Let me correct this number. Sorry for this. Okay. So your investment is placed into 7 policies and will pay $160,160 death benefit, okay? So we know your exact death benefit ownership from day one. Across 7 policies, 100,000 buys 160,000 approximately death benefit, okay? So as each policy matures, you're paid out. So you can see the stock market going down doesn't affect the life expectancy, the date of passing of the insured, right? As soon as that insured passes, you're paid. So if they were to pass away next week, you're paid just as much as if they were to pass away many years into the future, right? So can we calculate an APR? Can we give you a fixed APR? We can't, because we're dealing with death. And as Benjamin Franklin famously said, the only things in life for certain are death and taxes. The death part is certain, but when they'll pass away is uncertain. As soon as an insured passes, we can calculate your APR, your return on investment. What we do know is you'll be buying that amount of death benefit. You'll be paid out as each policy matures. I'm sure we'll have questions in the Q&A. I'm not going to stop for questions now, but just quickly to review, life settlements are completely unaffected by stock market losses. The next time we have a real estate crash, I mean, some people think if we have a real estate crash, but when we have a real estate crash, life settlements, your returns therein will be unaffected. So this is something we would consider for maybe 10% of your portfolio. It's not the sexiest return. I get it. If you're making 160,000 over several years on your 100,000, that's not the sexiest return. If you want to speculate on cryptocurrency, you might be able to make a lot more money, but you could lose a lot of money too, of course. So for someone with the right risk profile that understands what they're getting, I would consider this option. Political woes don't matter. It's actually unprecedented that a legitimate life insurance death benefit claim go unpaid in the United States since the Civil War. What does that mean? Maybe a life insurance policy was a fraudulent policy. It was when the application was done, the insured lied on the application. So that death benefit didn't pay out. But every single legitimate death benefit claim in the entire history of the United States from the Civil War has paid out. So I don't consider them not paying out to really be a risk. We could talk about how we've done our due diligence on the policies, but we fully expect all the policies to pay out. So that's not really a risk. That's what I mean by some of the most financially strong companies in the world, life insurance carriers, especially highly rated insurance carriers like the ones that we own policies with, are without question some of the most solvent companies in the world. How to invest, as I mentioned earlier, IRA Club. If you're on this call, you're already interested in IRA Club, and for good reason. Most of our investors are with IRA Club, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The foremost being, besides the just tax advantages of an IRA or other kind of retirement account like a Roth, is that this is a little bit longer time horizon product, right? It can be years before your investment is completely paid out. While you're paid out as each policy matures, you will have a policy go, for a number of years, maybe 6, 7+ years. It can absolutely happen. And your retirement funds, maybe you weren't planning on touching anyway. So if you want your retirement funds to just be working for you on a longer time horizon, that's exactly what life settlements do. So it's a good match. Okay. Now, I would never end a presentation without talking about all of the risks. Okay. Because if you've been listening, hopefully I've made a good case that this is definitely an option for growing or investing without any stock market risk, without any real stock market risk, right? The risks, of course, like Ramesh just alluded to briefly. First of all, we have two. We have two risks. Okay, one, longevity, and you may have guessed this, right? As we said, you're not paid out until the insureds pass away. If an insured starts living a lot longer than the life expectancies, of course, it's going to take you a lot longer to make your return on investment. And so you're not going to really make the same APR that you might have hoped for. So that's the first risk, longevity. We try to mitigate that by having a portfolio of 7 policies or 5 policies, as the case may be. The other risk, of course, is it's illiquid, right? So this is, again, why this can be just a great match for retirement account funds, like you can set up through IRA Club. We help with that whole process, by the way. There's no real way to get your funds back early, right? As soon as you're invested, we're waiting on the death benefits to pay you out. So until the death benefits pay you out, you can't really take your money out early, right? So that's the downside. That's really the cost of the upside. And once you understand the upside, the downside, just more and more investors have been considering life settlements in these uncertain economic climate.
Barry, always a pleasure. Finally happy to have you on board. Definitely going to have you here in the future.
Sure.
Remember, if you guys need anything, reach out to any one of either one of us. We're happy to assist. Barry, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be talking to you by the end of today.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Take care, guys. Be safe.
All right.
Always a pleasure.
The information contained herein is intended to help the viewer successfully navigate common IRS and Department of Labor requirements to help achieve successful results from their IRA. The information is not intended to replace information from your legal counsel or income tax professional. IRA Club does not offer or sell any investment. All investments have risk.